Shalom, family. Shalom. I'm coming to you guys with a quick video this morning before I get my day started because I have been telling you guys I'm writing a book about, all the stuff that I talk about and everything. So I had, recently ordered some books because I wanted to read some things on the subject and see what other people had to say about it. Also, so I could be able to have some sources to cite, you know what I mean? I just don't want to be on there like citing. I look up everything on Google. And then the Hebrew, well, I use the Hebrew concordance a lot in the book, like, showing the words and everything. But I wanted to have some sources, so I ordered some books. Now, one of the books I ordered is The Woman's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects. Now, as soon as I opened this book, I ended up on page 331, and it's funny because rearranged, that's 313, right? Which is where I was born, Detroit, and then it's the other page is 330, which could be 33. So it was so funny, but listen to what's on this page. So I want to just read you guys a few paragraphs of this. But before I do that, I did want to talk about Meghan Markle because everybody has been talking about Meghan Markle for the last few days. And as you guys know, we discussed that it could be a possibility that God was using her. Now, we didn't know if she was the her. But she may possibly be one of the 144,000, could be being used for a purpose. We don't know. But I had spoke about her, and I just found it interesting that when I get on YouTube, that it's been like a lot of videos for the last few days. I even watched a video where somebody was talking about the Exodus. Now I didn't really watch the full video, so I'm gonna have to go back and watch it. They weren't saying that she was going to lead the Exodus or anything, but they just spoke about the Exodus in the same, I don't know. I don't know how I want to explain it. They just was talking about her and then, was, I guess, basically saying a sign of the Exodus, I guess I want to say, but I don't know. So I just found that very interesting. I'm like, I'm going to have to watch this interview with Oprah because I haven't watched it. And I haven't really watched full videos. I'm just clicking on people's videos and watching the first few minutes and interesting, but I'm gonna have to really watch the interview and everything and interpret it my own self and really see what's going on with this because it just keep popping up. So I just wanted to point it out, but I want to read this to y'all because I found this very interesting. I'm just like, OMG. So it's the sacred signs and symbols. So we under womb right now, and this is what it says. So it says the holiest symbols of the Paleolithic and Neolithic humanity were symbols of the womb, source of life, primary fountain, head of every creative process. The Sanskrit word for temple meant womb. The Sumerian word for the underworld. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry, y'all. The Sumerian word for the underworld, the sacred cave, and the womb was Matu, from the universal root word for mother. To the Pygmies of Africa, the same word meant the great cavern that stood for Mother of God. To Simon Magus, paradise was defined as the mother's womb. The most revered oracle shrine in Greece was named Delphi, meaning womb. It was originally, I didn't know that Delphi meant womb. It was originally dedicated to the great goddess under such names as Themis, Gaia, and Phoebe. The legendary first priestess, Delphine, was... I'm sorry, y'all got to keep hitting the screen so it don't go off, and I'm trying to read, so that's why I'm so distracted. The legendary, was murdered by Apollo when he took over the shrine. A similar druidic shrine still stands in Pembrokeshire, the Pentre Evan cromlech, called the finest in Britain. Once entirely enclosed, it formed a dark chamber where initiates were placed for a number of days before ritual rebirth from Ceridwen's womb. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. So it's the initiatory, baptismal, and consecration ceremonies the world over show men setting up womb imitations to represent rebirth into new condition of life. They seem to be unable to imagine any other way of symbolizing this, even when participants are entirely male. A symbolic womb was the Hindu's priest's cloak called womb of knighthood, from which a king was brought forth in his coronation ceremony. The pre-Christian womb shrine of Glastonbury was formerly called Caer Wydr. Its sacred well, running red with iron oxide, was thought to be the blood flow from the goddess' life-giving womb. Christian legend appropriated the Glastonbury temple and called it the home for a while of the Holy Grail. In Shakespeare's time, even an old word for a womb. This was very interesting. Listen to this. It's saying Shakespeare's time. Let me put this book up so I can see clearly. Even an old word for womb, cod, had been masculinized and newly defined as scrotum, hence codpiece, the trouser flap worn by man, the Renaissance version of a fly front. Another Greek word for the womb, hysteria, gave its name to an annual festival of Aphrodite, and also to an imaginary cause of feminine illness, dating back to Greek medical ignorance, but enthusiastically credited by doctors throughout the Christian era. It was believed that the womb sometimes detached itself from its moorings and wandered about inside a woman's body, causing troubles in the lungs, hearts, kidneys, and brain. Up to the 18th century, churchmen still believed in the uterine causes of hysteria and recommended exorcism and conjuration as the only cures. This is some crazy stuff. It says, but this is the part that was stuck out. It say the original name of Israel meant the tribe of Sarah. Her name was formerly Sarai, the queen, a name of the great goddess in the Beitaian inscriptions. Priests changed her name to Sarah in the 6th century BC. The old Hebrew term for a tribe was the same as the word for mother, which I've already understood that tribe, the word for tribe means mother. And the tribal subdivision was batten, or belly. The word for a kin group meant womb, a relic of the original Hebraic matriarchy. Sarah's tomb was said to be occupied by the matriarchal queen and her descendants in the female line, together with her husband and the spouses of her matrilineal progeny. Ancestors of the Jews were only those accepted by the matriarchs Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, Rachel as members of their descendant group. Not all of Abraham's offspring were considered Israelites, but only those stemming from Sarah. These and many similar bits of evidence point to the womb symbol as one of the most significant in terms of kinship groups, spiritual ideas, and the human culture in general. If there had never been such powerful bonding of uterine blood relatives in the distant past, the cooperative efforts required by civilization could hardly have made a start. Though patriarchal society has succeeded in preempting almost completely the meanings and significances of the womb, yet there is an essential element missing, and its lack is felt, if not understood, by all the modern world. So did y'all hear that? It said that the Israelites was a matriarch. And Sister Ruth Abbey always say that in her videos, that she believed that the word Israel came from the name Sarah. The original name of Israel meant the tribe of Sarah. Her name was formerly Sarai the Queen. I told y'all when it was talking about and Sarah called Abraham Lord, that was not talking about, it was saying she was humble, even though she was the queen. Because see what humble mean is even though you know that you the best or the top or whatever, you humble yourself and you still, be like, think of yourself. No, I'm not going to say it's less than, but you don't flaunt it. You know what I'm saying? So she still called her husband Lord. She wasn't like putting the fact that she was queen over him. You know what I'm saying? And that's all that scripture was talking about. But see, they like to try to turn it around and be like, I'm your Lord. All of that, and all of that. But yeah, so that was very interesting. Now listen to what it say. Now something else that it said, it was crazy. And you know what? I don't even know what page it was on. But it was talking about pets. Like I know where it was. It was familiar spirits. I'm gonna have to find that. Okay, so they was talking about how women couldn't have pets because they thought you was a witch and you would be killed or whatever, because that was basically like your familiar spirit, because women domesticated animals. OMG, this is so funny. It's not funny, but I'm saying it's funny, but it's not. I'm just like, wow. It's some stuff in this book. Okay, so, but listen, let's read it. One more thing. We're going to read the vagina and the voice. And then I'm going to wrap this up because it's just a quick. Okay, sorry, family. I'm going to read these last two and then I'm going to just wrap this up. So I say, vagina as the gate of life and the devourer of man. Figuratively speaking, the vagina has been given elaborate and euphemistic symbolism. And they actually show that in the American Gods with, was it Sheba? Who is that? The black woman god. Who is she? So I say, the many substitutes for it in symbol and myth show how men have concentrated on its attributes with the mixture of awe, fear, and desire. Medieval Christianity made the vagina a metaphor for the gate of hell and revived the ancient fear-inducing image of the vagina, the toothed vagina. And I actually was writing about that in my vagina, in my book when I was talking about this. And I talked about how they used to wear the gate belts and all of that, but that's a whole nother thing. So let's go ahead. It say, on the other hand, men have always desired and sometimes even tried to appropriate for themselves the life-transmitting and pleasure-providing functions of the vagina. Vagina symbolism is plain in the sacred trumpets of the male-dominated Munduruku people of South America. I don't know if I pronounced that right. But it say the trumpets belong to man, and women are forbidden to see them. But the men say they were stolen from women in the first place. I just thought that was so funny, especially coming across the Judges 7 with Gideon and the 300, and that those 300 people possibly might have been women with trumpets and water pitchers. I read it. I don't think they actually fought. I think they did some stuff and then the people just ran away. Like, I don't know. So I'm going to read it again. But I was just like, that was funny. So say, where was we? Okay. So it said the trumpets were stolen from the women in the first place. Ancestral spirits live in the trumpets. An almost identical symbolism is attached to the Molino trumpets of the African Mbuti, which were also stolen from women and taken over by man. Just as real cavities of women contain the regenerative potential of the people and the clans, by taking the trumpets, man symbolically seized ownership and control of female generative capacities. According to the Epic of Gilgamesh, the plant of eternal life grew in the deep another term for the womb of the world. It was accessible only by narrow passage, ratu, that translators sometimes call water pipe or a well or a fountain. Images that conceal the real nature of the passage, of a vaginal gateway to the inner mystery of life. Euphemisms is more the rule than the exception in vagina symbols, showing that men generally feel uneasy or threatened by their meaning. Many stories about the vagina imply danger to man. A 16th century Arabian manuscript declared that any man who looks into a woman's vagina will go blind, and cited the case of a sultan of Damascus to whom this very thing had happened. The story could have arisen from an ancient, widespread title of the penis as the little blind one. So listen about the voice, because we actually talked about the vagina being the gate, and we talked about the narrow passage and all of that. Straight is the way, and that's why heterosexuals is called straight. But then they go on to talk about the voice. So it say the voice. Old Eastern traditions made the female voice an important symbol of creation, which we talked about this, that the mouth, the mouth of God being the vagina, the womb, right? But listen to what it say. It said, the source of the original creative word, which the Greeks and after them the Christians termed the divine logos. So as we've been saying, the true Christ, the true word is the feminine. So let's say the source of the original creative word, which the Greeks and after them the Christians termed the divine logos, arising presumably from the fact that every child learns speech from its mother as a rule, thus creating the world in the mind. The goddess of the voice first created everything in the universe by speaking its name in her primordial language, which Vedic sages naturally identify as sacred. To them, she was Vak, literally the sound of the voice. They liken her to the wind, blowing from heaven and bringing the essence of soul to all things. Vak created the gods by speaking their names, and she also revealed the holy mantras whereby the gods could be controlled. Vak was the first, the queen, the greatest of all deities. Early Hebrew mythology had a copy of Vak and the female deity Bath-Kol, daughter of the voice. In biblical times, she was known as the divine Afflatus, source of the prophets, inspiration, a personified voice of God, mysteriously female. Sometimes she was called the last echo of the voice. And we talked about that woman who was in the well in that show Key House. They had a show on Netflix called Key House, and it was a woman in the well. And her name was Echo. Okay, we talked about that, and I mentioned it in prior videos, okay? And so let's say she was personified as the voice of God, mysteriously female. Sometimes she was called the last echo of the voice, meaning there was not much left to be heard of the creative logos. The Greek goddess Echo was a similar conception, though reduced to a mere water nymph in the classical Narcissus story. In Gnostic literature, the female logo said, "I am the mother of the voice, speaking in many ways, completing the all. It is in me that knowledge dwells, the knowledge of things everlasting. It is I who speak within every creature. I am the womb that gives shape to the all by giving birth to the light. The light shines in splendor. I am the aeon to come. I am the fulfillment of all that is. Merothea, the glory of the mother. I cast the sound of the voice into the ears of those who know me." Now, I'm like, is that not what the heck we've been saying? OMG, I'm just over here like blown away. But what I am the one. Wait, hold up. It is in me that knowledge dwells, the knowledge of things everlasting. It is I who speak within every creature. So when we talked about yesterday we talked about Jesus, you got to know if it's the Jesus or the mother speaking. Ain't that what I told y'all? You got to know if it's Jesus or the mother speaking. So we like to just read it and automatically say, see, that was Jesus, because we ain't studying. Right, but I found that real crazy that they was saying that the familiar spirits was like when women was having, wait, I think I just found it. It's stuff on fairies and all type of stuff in here. So look, familiar spirits. So it say the idea of a witch's familiar spirit or demon or imp embodied in some kind of animal arose from an ancient concept of the personal daemon. We talked about the daemon. We did videos on it and all of that. An animal form. Sometimes this was imagined as a guardian or tutelary spirit, like the totem atoms of the American Indians. Sometimes it was viewed as an animal incarnation of a part of one's old soul, like the Ba of the Egyptians. Just as a loved person could be considered a kindred soul, so a beloved pet might also seem so connected. All these ideas of connection between human and animal were more or less diabolized under the Christian system, which regarded animals as soulless or demonic, or at the very least devoid of any feelings that needed consideration. Then it say, man's jealous of women's propensity to make pets of animals and treat them with love soon found ways to condemn women for sensual, affectionate relationships with their dogs or cats. A woman seen fondling or talking to her pet fell under suspicion of witchcraft. Even a woman who spoke to any animal, as one might say hello there to a squirrel or a bird, could be considered a witch. During centuries of persecution, and it was funny because I was telling my husband, like, that sounded like Kevin Samuels. I told y'all that man is a warlock. When he make people, you gonna have cats and all of that, okay? This is a whole spiritual war going on. Even a woman who spoke to any animal, as one might say, okay. During the centuries of persecution, women were often burned for keeping cats or nurturing lambs or talking to frogs or raising goats or for having mice in the house or toads in the garden. Black animals were especially suspected of harboring demons, since black was the color of underworld beings in general. That is why the popular image of a witch is attended by a black cat even today. Witchfinders insisted that their victims suckle familiar demons through a supernumerary teat located somewhere on their bodies, and this was identified with the devil's mark. An important aspect of witch finding was stripping the accused woman and searching minutely for this mark, or pricking her all over with sharp instruments, which the male investigators seemed to enjoy. Needless to say, no one ever succeeded in distinguishing familiars from ordinary animals. Oh my God, this is so crazy. These sickos. They're trying to kill us, y'all. Y'all get it yet? Okay, okay, I'm gonna wrap that up, but I'm gonna be bringing y'all stuff that I find in these books, cause I got 3 of them, and I'm just like, it's gonna take me this dictionary, but it's so big. It's gonna take me a few months, 2 months to read all 3 books at least. So, but I'll be bringing y'all stuff as I get it. But I gotta get off of here because I gotta get my kids' stuff going on. It's gotta get to going. So shalom, family. I love you guys until we meet again.